Hey YouTube, Mike the Rinnai guy here. How we doing today? Hope we're all staying busy and safe out there. Alright, today's video is a new product from Rinnai. Rinnai just released recirculation pumping system for their RL series units. The HE units, the high efficient units like the RL7.5 or the RL9.4, exterior only right now. So the unit is just like the one that we have sitting here, which is an RL7.5 interior natural. And now we can connect a pump system to these units, whether it is an older unit that you might have done a few months ago or a brand new unit that you're going to do now. Okay, here in this box is the actual, all of the parts that we will need. Now, it is HE Pump Kit MC. Now, basically, there's two different ways you can get this, but there's only two things that are different, and that is the controllers. The one box, now all of this will be in the description below. This one says Kit HE Plus Series Pump with Mc195 controller. Mc195. The other version is with the Control R Wi-Fi module, which would say Wi-Fi, Control R. That is the only difference. Everything else that we're going to pull out of this box is exactly the same. So we're going to do an unboxing, and we're actually going to do a demonstration of how to pipe it in onto an RL series unit. Okay, so we'll get to these in a few minutes. What do we get in this box? Let's just make sure. All right, we get our first box. Well, besides, we get a very well printed instruction sheet, which gives you a parts list on the front. Then it starts giving you a breakdown on how to put the piping, the pump, how to wire it. It tells you the dip switch settings, where to wire the controller, and then it gives you if you have a dedicated or the crossover valve, which we're going to get to right now. So it's very well engineered manual. Okay, in the first, let's get all the boxes out so we can get this massive box off of the table here. All right, we'll put this on the side because this is less. First boxes they give you is a Grumpus stainless steel 115 volt pump. Some packing, and the pump is already pre-wired. All it has to be is wired to the tankless. We'll get over that. Stainless steel, water-cooled pump. And the Grumpus instruction manual. But the instructions on the actual Rinnai will show you how to wire it. All right, in the next box has all of the goodies. They give you two Grumpus pump unions. So they're union halves with gaskets. Two of them. Make sure you don't lose the gaskets. They give you a thermal bypass valve if you do not have a dedicated return line, because I'm going to tell you this, 95% of the time when you go to a customer's house, they're not going to have a dedicated return line. So you're going to be using this thermal bypass valve, and this little puppy here will be a demonstration on how to pipe in the thermal bypass valve. It gives you a crossover adapter, which we'll be going over. Gives you a crossover hose. I happen to have another bypass valve I threw in there, but it's a 107000143, and it's a Grumpus series valve. You get it with all their different type of timer pump systems. You get a hot water manifold, and you get a cold water manifold with a spring-loaded check valve and a brass cap, your dedicated return line will go into here, and if you're using your thermal bypass valve, you're going to just cap this off, and your thermal bypass valve will be doing the circulation. Again, we'll be getting to that in a minute. So let's get all these toys unboxed, unbagged, and we'll move over to the tankless heater. Now, the tankless heater is a RL7.5 interior natural. It could be an RL7.5 or 9.4 natural propane, but interior only. The reason interior only is because this pump is not waterproof. Oh, and one other thing. They give you the cover for the valve kit, the valve box. So basically, it is that right there, and it goes down, so it gets mounted to the screws here, and it will cover the entire bottom of the valve kit. Now, it is an older product. They include it with it. You can purchase this separately for, say, an exterior tankless to cover up the valve kit, the gas pipe, the electric, and it'll just make it look like one big gray tankless heater. It pretties it up. So that is also at the bottom of the box. All right, so now, what else you're going to need? A tankless, and of course you're going to need the valve kit that comes with the tankless heater. So I already have it mounted. I have the front door off. Let's get this into the proper angle here so we can see everything. So we're going to need the valve kit. Now this is their new valve kit that actually has the union halves built on. You don't have to make up the half a union and then mate it with the gasket. It has the gasket built in. So both of these we love. And then of course you have your relief valve that gets mounted separately on your hot water side. So the assembly of this unit, very, very simple. Now it's up to you how you want to do it. The first thing that has to be done is you have two union halves. You have the first union half for the cold water side, which is the actual pump union. Now you get two of these in the bag with two gaskets. Now it's very hard to mistake this union half. Let me just loosen this puppy up a second. Again, this is an actual union, no gasket. So it's a little hard to kind of mix up which one, you know, they're not going to mate, but this one here is for the hot water side. This is for the cold water side. That's where the pump is going. All right, so if we go with the manual, you see how they explain. That's the pump union, tells you. It tells you the 3/4 union nut. And then you see the pump goes onto the cold water side. All right, so now we take a union half, and how are we good? We good? We good, all right. We're gonna make up this to here. Now, the brand new installation, it's most likely gonna be on the back of your truck or on a table that we happen to use a table, and that's what we make everything else on, and we put the material on, and that's how we install it. If you already have installed this, and it has been working in your customer's house, shut off the gas. Of course, you're shutting off the water. Don't unplug the unit. Unplug it. Do not let it, don't let it, just by working with this, unplug the unit so it is totally safe. All right, so let's just push this out of the way. All right, so now you make up this union half. Now you're going to take the other union half, which was the hot water side, and you're going to make that up onto the hot water side here. All right, now you're going to take your pump. The pump is getting pumped up, arrow up into the unit. So you have, oh, I'm dropping everything. You have an arrow on the pump. Oh, and of course your gasket. Don't forget your gasket. Make that up. Now you got your cord. Now you're going to take your other union half and you're going to make it up onto the cold water side manifold. Now, don't worry about the cap yet. Then you're going to make that up. Now, bear in mind your gas. You may have to cock the pump. Now watch, because you don't want to be interfere with this, and you don't want to interfere with the front of this because you've got the door. So you're going to have to kind of cock this a little bit when you install it, so that now your gas, you know, if you put an elbow on, but remember all of this is going to be inside that casing. So you kind of have to make everything inside the casing when you're putting it together. That's all up to you how you're going to pipe it in. Okay, then you're going to take your cold water service valve with whatever adapter of the type of material that you're going to connect the hot and cold water with, and you're going to make it up onto that cold water. Okay, now this part is done. Now you take your hot water side, which is basically just a 3/4 by FT, 2 adapters and the union half, and you're going to put it up onto the hot side. Now, you're going to take this bypass adapter, you're going to screw it onto the hot water side, and then you're going to screw your hose onto the 2. Now that is your piping configuration. That's the whole piping configuration. And now you would pipe in your cold water and your hot water. Now, of course, hold on. We forgot. Okay, again, you got to watch everything that you have here, where you're going to put this. Has to go more like on an angle like that. Your adapters, your hot and your cold water. So there is your configuration of what it's going to look like. Now, we're going to remove this camera in a couple of minutes to show you. All right, now, wiring. The wires get plugged to this right here, but you got this in the way. So what we do is we remove the controller, and then we remove the controller bracket. Now, I'm going to show you from far, and then I'll bring the camera in. The wire, remove the rubber band, remove the lock nut. There is already a pre-made hole. You see my little finger? There's already a pre-made hole through the chassis of the Tankless. You're going to bring that up. You got your ground wire. You're going to tighten up your lock nut. Now, let's zoom in a little bit. All right, right here. There is a black and a white wire. It's on with the antifreeze, the MS controller, the Easy Connect. It's all together. You're going to want this wire that says cut wire to connect pump. Do not cut the wire because it has its mated female pair on it. That is when you are putting a separate pump on the system. So you're just going to push the little tab which removes the protective cover, and you're going to push these two together. The beauty about a Rinnai product with their wire harness is that every single wire does not, will only mate with its own pair. Now, let me zoom this back out. Now the grounding. Let me grab my screwdriver and my, okay. With all the electronic stuff, with the controller, with the ground, I like to use these stake-ons. That's what I like to crimp, the crimp-ons. So we're going to take our ground wire, we're going to put our little stake-on, going to crimp it, and then we're going to find and we're going to put our ground wire right to the chassis. Hey, come on. Magnet. All right, there we go. So, let's take the camera off and I'll show you a little better, an up-close shot of it. So here is your wire connector. So this came from the pump. It has a fuse. Okay, so your red and blue wire connects to this wire, and it says, see, cut wire to connect pump. All you're doing is removing that white plug. And then you're going to ground the wire right to the chassis. Okay, now to set this, you're using the white bank of dip switches. You're using number four right here. So let me grab my little punch. You're going to set number 4 dip switch. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to set that to on. Come on. It's better with the screwdriver. There we go. Oh, that's number 3. There we go. Number 4. So you're setting number 4 on. Now let me grab the instruction manual. Let me put the camera back and tell you about the others. So, those dip switches can be a little bit of a booger. All right, so in the manual, okay, you're going to set the 4th dip switched white set to on. That's right here. We still on? Yep, okay. All right, sorry about that. All right, so the 4th dip switch set to on. For economy mode, you're going to set the 8th dip switch in the white set switch to off, or for comfort mode, the 8th dip switch to on. Now, economy mode, comfort mode, that is the time cycle of the pump. All right, that, the rest of that you're going to grab out of the manual for the Rinnai Tankless Heater. All right, so that is the wiring of the actual pump controller. Tuck the wires back in. Put back on your 2 little notches. And then put your controller back in, and you're all set. Now, still unplugged, so you still haven't touched this. You can, neaten this up with a little bit of zip tie. So we're just going to hang it right here for now. All right, now, if you have a dedicated mode, What you're going to do is now you have a separate pipe that comes from all the way on the other side of the house. What you're going to do is, let's move our little tray of stuff over. All right, what you want to do is you want to, of course, you're going to take off the cap. You're going to put a ball valve on. Let's two hands here. Then you're going to put T. Now I'm just doing this just to configure it. I'm only using it so it's, you know, it'll just screw in and you can see what it, and then you're going to put on a bleeder valve. And then can we see that? Yes, we can. All right. So basically, you have the cold coming in, you have the hot going out, and then you have the recirc going in. And what you could do is you could shut off this ball valve, and then let the system fill, open this up, and bleed out the whole loop. So there will be no air, and no air will get back into the pump. Now, if you don't have a recirc, which, like I said, 85% of the time, you are not going to have the recirc. I mean, even in the large houses that we work in, we do not have recirc. So, you're going to take and leave and tighten up the 3/4 cap. All right, let's make some room over here now, and we're going to go over the thermal bypass valve. That's the one we want. All right, so you're going to figure out from your customer which part of the house is giving them the most heartache. Now, in our case, it is the master bathroom, the master bedroom, master bath. But we do get a couple of kitchens, and every now and then, like maybe the mother-in-law suite, but it's the master. So in the master, this is what you're finding. A faucet under a cabinet with 2 speedies, and 2 speedies going up into the faucet. Now, what you're going to find underneath there, whether it's braided, whether it's plastic, or whether it's the faucets that have the speedies already built onto it, this is just going to generalize what you need to do. So when we get the drill, we got some screws here. So what you need to bring with you is, of course, the thermal bypass valve. There is an instruction booklet inside of the plastic, and basically that is your thermal bypass valve. There's only one way that this valve is going to go. Now, if you read it, it says hot, it says cold, then it says cold to your faucet, and it says hot to your faucet. So hot, hot to the faucet, cold, cold to the faucet. But if you notice that there is a flat spot on this, and then there is the rounded spot. There's only one way it goes, and that's with the flat spot up against the wall. Period. That's it. All right, so what are you going to do? First thing you're going to do is, of course, have the water shut off. You're going to take the 2 speedy nuts off of the faucet. And you're going to put them, so you have your hot, you have your cold. You're going to put your hot on one side, and you're going to put your cold on the other. Then you're going to take, we use, let me just make sure I got the right ones here. Well, because most of the time they're the 4-inch center set faucets, and the 4-inch center set faucet, 2-handle, are going to have the 2 1/2-inch IPS threads. Now, the single levers are going to have the 2 3/8 speedies, and then the plumbers usually put the speedy extensions on it. We're going to go over that in a second. But what we do is we use these braided hoses that have the 1/2-inch faucet nut ends on both sides that have the gasket. Now, I want to show you something because we made this mistake and we won't do it again after that. Let me find, there we go. We tried making this up and it just leaked. This is 1/2 inch female by 3/8 compression. This bypass valve is 1/2 inch IPS because a faucet nut is 1/2 inch IPS. And as you can see, it wants to make itself up, but it doesn't. And you need to find the one that has the washer. Don't even go, don't try it. We tried it and it just leaked. So we don't, this is how we do it. We have not had a problem in hundreds of them. So we put the 2 speedies on there. Now again, this is up to you if you're going to have to replace or put new speedies on. Then we take 2 screws, and of course this is gonna take 2 screws and screw in the thermal bypass valve right to the back wall of the cabinet. All right, now then we take the 2 double faucet nut speedy. All right, and that is your connection. That's your connection with your thermal bypass. Now, if you happen to have the 3/8 speedy nuts coming off this, what you're going to need to do, and I'm only going to be able to show you one, but you'll kind of get the idea. Let's just get this off. You're going to have to put a speedy nut, you know, the faucet nut, and then you're going to have to get a 3/8 compression union. Now they do make them, they do make speedies that have male ends on them. It's a little hard for us to find them here, so you just kind of make a nice little loop. Then you tie it on. And you do that with the other side. So there is the 2 different ways that you could do the actual thermal bypass valve. But with this, you're going to find a good majority of your time that that's the way you're going to do it. With the flexible speedy, and it gets us out of that bathroom within a few minutes. So that's that. That's the way it's going to look. All right, let's get this down. Okay. Turn your water back on. Now with the thermal bypass valve, it gets circulated through here back into the cold, but hence the name thermal bypass. It has a thermally activated piece in here that shuts down once water temperature reaches around 110 degrees. Okay, and then that's when it gets back, and then that's what this bypass hose is for. On an RUR unit, the RUR unit actually registers it yourself. So, excuse me. All right, so now that's that. All right, the controller. This unit comes with an Mc195 controller. So let's get this back to over here. So the Mc195 controller comes with a very good instruction manual. Now I will be doing a video on the Wi-Fi and the Mc195, how to wire them, connect them, set them, program them. That'll be coming up. But this is just a quick little where to put it, how to put it. All right, so the Mc195 controller comes with this bracket, which has these little clips that mate to these 4 little recesses. So the wire goes through, it mates to the recess, and then clicks down, of course, with that facing up. Now, what we do is we use, and I'll show you the wire, we use 18-2, 2 conduit. I already have it pre-stripped, you know, for video purpose. All right, there is a rubber grommet. Here we are. That the wire will get fished through and then fished back through here. Now, there's, let's zoom in here. Actually, you know what? I'll take the camera off again and go over that, where it goes. Again, I like to use, and they're sitting here in my pocket, I like to use the stake-ons to connect them. And the ones I use are red. All right, trim them down. First one on. Second one. Now there's 2 terminals, and it actually says terminals for controller. But we'll take a peek at that in a minute. One. I like to leave a little bit of extra wire in there in case something breaks and you have to re-splice it. I'll show you this in a minute. All right, tuck your wire back in here and then put your little door back down. Now you're done. You set your dip switches. Okay, now I take, there's 2 different ways, or there's 3 different ways you can do it. You can use one of these boxes. You can use one of these boxes with what they call a mud plate or a cut-in box. But we're just going to use this small box right now just to show you. And it's just going to be, it's just quick. We're not going through the whole process. We're just going to mount the controller. So, put your box. Show the controller. Nope, see the controller. All right, then we're going to take their number 632 screws. 2 of them. So that's the screws right there. Now again, make sure that these little hooks are facing up and they fit right onto the center hole, fits right onto the box. Now you can, there's a lot of holes in here. You can molly them, you can toggle bolt them, you can use the white drywall anchors, you could use whatever you want, but you can mount the plate ahead of time. You don't need to go crazy with it. And then put your wire through. Like I said, we're only going to show you this. You understand that you got to connect the 2 little wires. All right, and then now you can tuck. Once you make up your wire nuts, or you can use crimp-ons. You just line up. Now, of course, you don't have the luxury of looking behind it. And there's your controller. So, let's get the camera off. Flip this around. So there's the two terminals. That, and see, terminals for controller. Those are your two terminals. And then when you're done, you just flip this back down. It's a protective plastic cover. Protects the PC board. Of course, you got your wires here. You got your ground here. There's your pump. This is made up because we use the thermal bypass valve. You have your cold, your hot, your bypass. Now, you're all done. You're ready to go. You plug your tankless back in. Boom. And then you fire it up, and then the PC board will automatically turn the pump cycles on and off. Now again, I cannot stress that this is for, let me get this back on here. There we go. All right. Okay, I cannot stress that this is for an internal only. So whether it's a natural or a propane, but it's for an interior only. The pump is not rated for outdoor. Then the cover, I'll go through the cover on another video, but basically you're gonna put the cover on and it's gonna cover this whole thing. But this is the configuration. And then again, just you tidy up the wires, you know, back here if you want to. They'll be inside the cover. You can tidy them up nice, and there you go. Well, that is the recirc system for an RL unit, the HE, either a 7.5 or a 9.4 interior only. All right, YouTube. I know this was a little bit long, but I wanted to show the whole thing, how it configured, how it looks. Again, the tankless is up at God's country just for video purposes, but you know, the board normally is this tall, so you know, I like to put my tanklesses eye height so that they're easier to service and repair. All right, YouTube, I hope you enjoyed the video. My email will be in the description below. My Instagram page will also be in the description below. If you want to take a look at my installs and all my new tools and stuff like that, you could see. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you install it, I hope your customers enjoy it. And again, be safe out there, and I will see you on the next video. Thank you. Bye-bye.